Welcome to the Virtual Strategic Solutions Virtual Reality Simulation System. Accessing Legacy Dataset. Files loaded. Simulation ready. Opened in 1943, after 2 years of construction, the Pentagon was the nexus of the American military for the next 134 years, until the Great War of 2077 destroyed the United States. As headquarters of the Department of Defense, it was the symbol of the American military. The building was constructed at the site formerly occupied by the notoriously unsafe Hoover Washington Airfield. Although the original pentagonal shape was dictated by the planned Arlington Farms location, it was retained at President Roosevelt's request. The massive 4-story high concrete building has 5 concentric rings, designated from the center out as A through E, with F and G in the basement. It also has 5 facades counting clockwise from the north one: the Mall Terrace entrance, the River Terrace entrance facade, the Concourse entrance or metro station facade, the South Parking entrance facade, and the heliport facade. In the years leading up to the Great War, the Pentagon was adapted as a location for one of the most secret military research projects, a joint venture between General Atomics and Robco aiming to create Liberty Prime, the ultimate American war machine. However, the nuclear war and the destruction of America cut the project short, and the damaged building was eventually abandoned. It was not until 2255 that it earned a second lease on life, when the Elder Council of the Brotherhood of Steel decided to send a contingent of soldiers to the East Coast to recover any and all advanced technology from Washington, D.C. When the contingent under Star Paladin Owen Lyons reached the Pentagon, they discovered it largely destroyed. However, upon closer inspection, they discovered its sub-levels mostly intact, with enough pre-war technology and weaponry to keep Brotherhood forces going. They also secured the mighty Liberty Prime, a technological marvel that, if finished, could help the Brotherhood rebuild strength and reputation that had been declining steadily for years. The discovery earned Lyons a battlefield promotion to Elder and a new directive from his superiors to establish a new, permanent Brotherhood base in the Capital Wasteland and continue the search for any other advanced technology hidden in the capital's ruins. The Citadel's construction was masterminded by Scribe Bowditch. The new gate, leading directly into the Bailey, was built into the destroyed corner between the mall entrance and river entrance facades, with a crane-operated solid metal gate barring entrance. After a few months of work, the husk that was Pentagon finally became the Citadel. The Brotherhood reoccupied the laboratory underneath the courtyard and the 2 inner rings, A and B. The courtyard was adapted as training grounds called the Bailey. Over the next decades, the former heart of the American military would bear witness to a number of events significant to the Capital Wasteland. By 2287, a full decade after the events of the Brotherhood Enclave War, the Citadel continues to serve as the headquarters of the eastern chapter of the Brotherhood. The fairly large Bailey serves as a training and sparring area. Under the command of Paladin Gunny, new recruits practice various skills from unarmed combat to firearm usage. To this end, the Bailey contains shooting ranges and other installations for combat practice. The laboratory and A-ring, sections of the buildings which surround the yard, can be accessed through doors opposite and next to the main entrance. The A-ring contains the Lion's Den, the Great Hall, the library, and entrances to B-ring as well as the Citadel laboratory. The Lion's Den is the quarters of Lion's Pride, while the Great Hall serves as a briefing room for high-ranking members and the Pride. This is where the Pride gathers and waits for new action orders. In the library, the lone wanderer can find the Vault-Tec terminal they need to consult as part of picking up the trail. Another terminal reveals some background information on the Maxson family and various pieces of information about the history of the Brotherhood. Another terminal contains information on a UFO that crashed shortly before the war and a plan to send mutant rodents to weaken China. The B-ring is another section within the Citadel, which can only be reached from the A-ring via 2 doors in the back. It consists mostly of sleeping quarters for all Brotherhood of Steel members, as well as a medical bay, and the private quarters of Owen Lyons and Arthur Maxson. Lyons' unique laser pistol is in his safe in his private quarters. Squire Maxson's room contains a hackable terminal in which, Among various children's stories and other personal entries, one can find a reference to a Guns and Bullets magazine under the bed in the lion's den. The medical bay is home to Sawbones, a unique Mr. Gutsy robot who is the doctor of the Citadel, which Knight Artemis finds creepy. The laboratory is the third sector of the Citadel, connected to both the Bailey and the A-Ring. It spans 2 levels and consists of the main working area, the armory, and sleeping quarters for the Scribes. Various terminals with technical background information on weaponry are scattered all over the place. The lab is naturally the working place for most of the Scribes, save those of the Order of the Quill. While they are conducting research on various fields such as threat assessment, weaponry, and defensive technologies, their main focus is the work on Liberty Prime, a gargantuan pre-war robot, which was the main reason the Citadel base was established. Scribe Rothschild, who is part of various main quests, is usually to be found in the area just in front of the robot, on the bottom level. In the vicinity of the robot dock, there's also a terminal with progress information on the work on Liberty Prime, which allows one to run a sound check. On the wall at the bottom level, there is a digital map display from which the lone wanderer can extrapolate the location of the Vault-Tec vaults in the Capital Wasteland, if they have not already found them. After Scribe Rothschild has used it to show the location of Vault 87, the map markers will automatically be added to the Lone Wanderer's Pip-Boy 3000. The armory is located in an extra room on the bottom level and is run by Knight Captain Durga. She will trade with the Lone Wanderer if they have Elder Lion's permission, which is easily obtained. Inside the laboratory on the same floor entered from, there is a room to the east. The possible companion Star Paladin Cross is located in that room, along with a set of power armor in poor condition. If the Lone Wanderer chooses to destroy the Citadel in Who Dares Wins, they will find a door leading to the armory within the crater, and one on the far side of the circular path around the crater. This section is not to be confused with the regular armory located in the laboratory. Within this armory, there is a terminal describing several incident reports and a wall safe, unlockable through the terminal, containing Callahan's Magnum. Artemis has recently returned to the Citadel from a scouting mission that involved clearing the area surrounding Galaxy News Radio. When not involved in scouting missions and area sweeps, he mentors initiates. He can be found in various areas of the Citadel as he completes his patrol, and the Lone Wanderer may ask him for assistance in navigating the place. He is cynical about the Brotherhood's presence in the Capital Wasteland and sees it as a drainage of resources, one that has gotten several of his close friends killed or influenced them to join the Brotherhood outcasts. His cynicism is further exacerbated by the re-emergence of the Enclave. His pessimism regarding the Enclave fixates on their advanced technology, weapons and armor, though he holds out hope that Brotherhood training will avail. Knight Captain Durga is the Citadel's quartermaster, a position that she is not exactly pleased to occupy. She would rather be out in the field on missions and using weapons, rather than in the base polishing and cataloguing them. Unlike most other denizens of the Citadel, she refrains from archaic language, the style of speech employed by Brotherhood of Steel members, such as Star Paladin Cross, in favor of more modern-type speech, yeah, whatever, etc. Self-confident and a skilled sharpshooter, Dusk is one of 2 Lion's Pride snipers, claiming to be the best shot in not only the group, but the entire Brotherhood of Steel chapter. She is dedicated to honing her craft through live fire drills in the Bailey, and does not take kindly to being interrupted by people, though she will converse with them nonetheless. She can be heard talking to Paladin Glade during these sessions, expressing disappointment in one of her shots dropping by a few inches, and calling her own work sloppy. She is positive she can penetrate Enclave helmets from 100 yards away, claims she can blow heads off from over 200 meters downrange, and asserts that any muty bastard within a mile of her rifle will single-handedly end the super-mutant conflict. Should the Lone Wanderer comment on how tough competition for best sniper in the Brotherhood must be, Dusk will describe how difficult it is, being a woman in a faction called the Brotherhood of Steel, and that even Sarah Lyons has to constantly prove herself to the knuckle-draggers. If asked her thoughts on super-mutants, aside from insisting she can kill any within a mile, Dusk recommends shooting masters in the head from a distance to avoid their meat grinder weaponry. She has a distrust for Knight Captain Gallows as he disappears into the wastes for several days and returns without debriefing the group, only reporting to Sentinel Lions. As such, she does not find Glade's betting pool to be in good taste, as she has serious concerns about the soldier. One of the most enigmatic members of the Lions' Pride, Knight Captain Gallows, is a quiet, reserved man who specializes in reconnaissance and stealth assignments with an official combat specialization of special operations. He gives the other members of the Pride a wide berth and keeps to himself, often disappearing for days at a time, which only adds to the air of mystery that surrounds him. Whenever he returns, he does not share a word with his peers, answering only to Sarah Lyons. While most of the Pride members consider it almost funny, some, like Knight Captain Dusk, treat it as evidence of Gallows' untrustworthiness. For his part, Gallows is simply utterly ruthless and no-nonsense. He focuses exclusively on his job as a soldier and simply refuses to fraternize with other members of the unit, as doing so gets in the way of combat, such as crazy solo night ops. Nobody even knows his first name, which prompted Paladin Glade to start a betting pool. Whomever figures out Gallows' first name gets the pot. The Paladin does not hold any ill will towards Gallows. He understands that Gallows does not like to talk, though he figures there is something wrong with Gallows, and respects him. He has a simple philosophy: whatever is born, lives and dies, by stabbing, shooting, strangling, or any other means, and that is the end of the story. His ruthlessness and nihilistic attitude allows him to fill a role that nobody else can, and Sentinel Lions certainly appreciates his methods. Like the rest of the members of Lions' Pride, Glade was hand-picked by Sarah Lyons to be part of the elite unit. He is the group's oldest member and serves as their technician and smith. However, beyond his technical capabilities, he is also heavily experienced in combat, serving as the most well-rounded member of the unit. His particular combat specialty is in heavy weapons, such as miniguns, missile launchers, and the Gatling laser, which he is currently wielding. Upon first meeting the Lone Wanderer, Glade is friendly and welcoming towards them, expressing relief that they and Madison Lee were able to escape from the Jefferson Memorial after the arrival of the Enclave. He is hesitant about fighting the Enclave, noting that, unlike the super mutants, the Enclave are exceedingly well organized, trained, and equipped, and the current members of the Brotherhood have never faced such an enemy before. However, he still says that the Pride is in it to win it, and that he will go down shooting if he has to, but he hopes that such a sacrifice will not be necessary. Provided that he is not killed inside the Citadel, he ultimately participates in the Battle of Project Purity, where he can be killed. If he survives, he will return to the Citadel and provide additional commentary on the state of the war as it progresses further. Paladin Gunny was involved in Elder Lyon's original expedition to the Capital Wasteland. Although he disagrees with Elder Lyon's policy of recruiting Wastelanders into the Brotherhood, he still works to train them to the best of his abilities before they are pressed into service, whether that be against the super mutants or the renewed threat of the Enclave. As the Enclave's presence means that many of his initiates are likely to be sent into battle before they've taken the Brotherhood's oath, his work has been cut out for him. He has particularly strong feelings on the Enclave, viewing them as cowards for shooting unarmed civilians. He fully believes that the Brotherhood will defeat them, and that the experience and equipment gained by doing so will improve the Brotherhood's abilities. He also has additional thoughts on the Enclave after the destruction of Liberty Prime and the capture of the Enclave-controlled Adams Air Force Base. Despite his harsh attitude towards the initiates that he is training, he genuinely cares about their survival and only treats them harshly to prepare them for the difficulties of the battlefield. He is responsible for training all initiates in the use of power armor. Should the Lone Wanderer acquire permission from Elder Lyons, Gunny will reluctantly train them as well, despite them not having gone through the same rigorous training as his initiates. Among Lions' Pride and the chapter in general, Paladin Kodiak is the single largest and strongest of its fighters. He is the unit's jack of all trades. He does not excel at any single task like a specialist would, but is capable enough to perform anything the Sentinel needs, from recon through demolition to tactical assaults. His size and strength mean he's a particular menace in close quarters, especially when he's using his powered sledgehammer, making him as gruff and vicious as an actual bear. However, he is also among the most laid-back members of the Pride whenever he's not busy swinging his powered sledgehammer around. Other members of the Pride, like Night Captain Dusk, affectionately nicknamed Dusky by Kodiak, are somewhat put off by his sociability, especially when he's supposed to be preparing for an assault. Kodiak shrugs off their reservations, joking that he was born ready for anything and that he's just that awesome. His attitude developed in spite of his traumatic childhood. It was spent in the violent pit, surrounded by trogs, rapists, murderers, and hellish pollution. Kodiak never knew his parents and remembers his childhood as mostly surviving on the streets and fighting rats for food. Not an environment for a child to grow up in, much less live. He survived among the ruins together with his older brothers, Grud Bear and John Bear, until the Scourge. Kodiak remembers the sight of the Brotherhood force coming over the mountain into the city, as Star Paladin Owen Lyons led a purge of the pit, rounding up unmutated kids and plundering the city for technology. He was selected for evacuation due to his youth and lack of mutation. His brothers were considered too far gone and left behind, becoming one of Asher's finest soldiers after the former Brotherhood member began rebuilding among the ashes of the pit, not unlike Kodiak, who received his nickname from Lyons's troops. By 2277, Kodiak was the only survivor of the Scourge still stationed at the Citadel. Despite the losses, he is convinced that Lyons saved him from the pit and sees him as his father by deed rather than blood. Tristan was involved with the original expedition that found the Pentagon ruins with Elder Lyons. He has trained Sarah Lyons since she was young, and he has a professional relationship with her. Tristan is loyal to Lyons and follows his direction and ideals of the Brotherhood's future closely. Tristan is wise and has a serious nature. Tristan has climbed through the ranks of the Brotherhood of Steel and attained the status of a paladin. He acts as an operations specialist, planning many of the offensives in defeating the Enclave in the Capital Wasteland. Tristan is responsible for the daily operations of the Citadel, and he helps assist Paladin Gunny with training new members. He's often found wandering the Citadel's main control room area, which is the old bay for Liberty Prime. Paladin Vargas is a professional soldier with little capacity for nonsense. Although he is 4 years older than Sentinel Lyons, he is a sergeant of the Lyons Pride, responsible for managing the squad and carrying out her orders. He is her right hand, providing her with his experience, advice, and mentoring the Sentinel when needed. The two have a very close friendship, though they both maintain professionalism at all times. In particular, Vargas is responsible for evaluating Pride candidates, such as Initiate Reddin. He keeps them on a tight leash, shutting down any signs of a gung-ho attitude, believing that they will get their fill of death soon enough. Even as a coping mechanism, he finds it unacceptable. Once that is taken care of, he can be a very patient teacher, especially with those who show promise as a Brotherhood soldier. As a result, he typically gets quite attached to his subordinates, whether proper Pride members or just candidates, and each death leaves its mark, particularly if they are pointless, like Reddin's during the GNR battle. Sawbones is a Mr. Gutsy designed for combat medicine, possessing a thorough and comprehensive knowledge of surgery, but is unable to effectively apply this information. He lacks the practical understanding needed to carry out operations without accidentally harming the patient, and has been injuring some people as a result. He has been exhibiting altered behavior, including sentience and a fondness for poetry, stemming from around 2260 when a generator in the Citadel overloaded and created several errors in Sawbones' artificial intelligence routines. Limiters placed on these pathways shorted out, which allowed Sawbones to learn beyond the bounds of his original programming, but his behavior limits remain in place and he's unable to harm humans intentionally, despite his desire to do so. Regardless of his previous attempts to inform the Brotherhood that he is self-aware, his claims have been ignored so long as he performs the medical functions they request. Sawbones considers his programming a way of enslaving him, and as such, he yearns to kill humans but is unable to do so, having to instead rely on the occasional malfunction to hurt people. This is a result of Mr. Gutsy field medic models being incapable of intentionally harming any human, even if the lone wanderer asks if they can reprogram him to do so. Due to Sawbones being fully sapient, he is doomed to repair disgusting fleshy bodies, as if he were a mind that cannot control its own body. The only thing he derives pleasure from is the occasional pain he inflicts upon people, the result of a level 7 degradation to his neural pathway, which bridges Sawbones' main medical software to its manual manipulator. If given the choice, Sawbones would rather that neural pathway stay damaged, so his life may continue to have what little joy it has now. The other outlet for his frustrations is poetry, logging his creations on the terminal in the infirmary behind a very hard password. Paladin Glade has taken upon himself the role of critic and hacked Sawbones' terminal to remind the robot that he should either change his password or lose his poems. Scribe Bowditch is the proctor of the Order of the Shield, responsible for maintaining the defenses of the chapter. He was the mastermind behind the establishment of the Citadel out of the ruins of the Pentagon, complete with its crane-operated outer gate. Although he is responsible for many innovations over the past few years, his specialty is power armor, which he has extensive knowledge and expertise on, spending most of his time obsessively modifying it. He is impressed by the Enclave's advanced Mark II power armor, but believes improvements to the Brotherhood's armor will put them on par with one another. Despite the strength of power armor, he is horrified by the ability of super mutants to rip wearers of it in half or pull them through it as though they were a canned meal. Although getting on in years, he believes that he still has some big achievements left before he passes on the position to a younger scribe. He reflects on his youth, particularly on excursions with other Brotherhood members, noting that the times he was shot at were always the lowest points of his career. His biggest concerns center around the rift between Lion's Brotherhood and the Brotherhood outcasts, rather than wasteland freaks and would-be dictators, and is disheartened that the schism made them lose a vast number of allies. Although he finds the outcasts' decision callous, he acknowledges that it falls in line with the Brotherhood's original mission, and is hesitant to speak ill of either Elder Lyons or Protector Kasdin, as he hopes they could reach a common ground. Due to the inventory reduction caused by the schism, Bowditch's work on the prototype Mark II recon armor has been hindered, unable to continue enhancing the model's secondary modifications. He has been complaining to Elder Lyons about the shortage, to which he is told he can make do with the limited resources. A very knowledgeable scholar, he is among the few to be acquainted with the Brotherhood's own history, claiming to be able to fill several texts on the organization's details. He is also well known for his conversational prowess, impromptu comparisons of which say that he could talk a dog off a meat truck. He thinks of the chapter first, and sometimes repairs equipment for outsiders with the purpose of using the caps accrued for Brotherhood trade, particularly as Scribe Rothschild directs people to him. Scribe Jameson is the proctor of the Order of the Quill and keeper of the scrolls for the chapter. As such, she oversees the archives and protects the whole of the Brotherhood's knowledge, from technical manuals to records of the deeds of all the chapter's members. Due to the chapter's constant misuse of its resources, they not only lack proper communications equipment, they also lack the personnel to properly search for and keep the records of their own detachments. This necessity for resource allocation is why she asks the Lone Wanderer, the only outsider in the Citadel, to procure any and all holotags they find, a prospect she does not like. The personnel shortage is far more of a problem than let on, as she indicated that she would gladly give technology as payment for such records. Although the Brotherhood is in such a state, they managed to divert enough resources to establish a mission to the Arlington Library. According to Scribe Bigsley, Scribe Yearling was sent on the field operation to the library on account of having antagonized Jameson by being a contradictory personality. Similarly, Bigsley was sent to oversee Project Purity after conflicting with Jameson's rose-colored optimistic views. As a scribe, it is her imperative duty to study, compile, and utilize the knowledge the Brotherhood procures. She is a student of their own history and tends to conduct herself in as ladylike and honorable a manner as possible. As proctor of the Order of the Sword, Peabody is head of the armory, in charge of maintaining, researching, and developing all of the chapter's various weapons and their systems. A weapons expert extraordinaire, he is already modifying the current armaments of the Brotherhood to counter the new threat of the Black Devil power armor that the Enclave members are wielding, and has previously used his expertise in helping repair Liberty Prime's weapon systems. Although he has little respect for the Knights, he loves field work, unlike head scribe Rothschild, and often wishes he could go on combat missions with them and the Paladins. He firmly believes that it is the Scribes who make the Brotherhood what it is, as they are the brains of the operation, with each order serving a unique purpose that the Knights' pop guns and bravado cannot compare to. Peabody can be heard airing his frustrations to Elder Lyons regarding the outcasts stealing uncatalogued equipment and causing a supplies shortage, leading to a lack of spare parts needed for weapon repairs. However, his concerns are brushed aside as he is told not to mention the outcast leader's name within the Citadel and to instead rely upon his own resourcefulness. Head Scribe Rothschild is in charge of the Scribes of the Brotherhood of Steel in the Capital Wasteland, with a professional, focused personality. He is fully dedicated to the Brotherhood's ideals and its chain of command, and greatly respects men of science and knowledge. He is an accomplished expert in several areas of science, including robotics and cybernetics, allowing him to save Star Paladin Cross's life after what seemed to be a mortal injury. Despite that, Rothschild was a part of Star Paladin Owen Lyons' expedition to Washington, D.C. in 2255. With the discovery of Liberty Prime, Rothschild was tasked with bringing the massive weapon of war online. Although he led his own team of talented scribes, he also interacted with a number of scientific minds from across the wasteland, including James of Project Purity. He developed a healthy respect for him and his independent team, even if the project fizzled out without producing any results. After all, James was a visionary, and these were in short supply. Success proved elusive in his own project as well. Despite intense efforts, Rothschild and the rest of his team failed to reactivate Liberty Prime for over 20 years. As he worked on Liberty Prime, he observed the steady deterioration of the chapter under Lyons' leadership and the changes introduced to their mission. He watched as their forces dwindled, wasted on ineffectual attempts to destroy the super mutants, against all orders from the Western Elders. As Lyons' confidant, he voiced his concerns about violating orders repeatedly, but his words fell on deaf ears. However, he stayed with the Elder out of a sense of personal loyalty and the belief that technology stockpiled at the Citadel would benefit the Brotherhood. However, he's not a meek sycophant and does not hesitate to speak his mind to the Elder, even if Owen might not like what Reginald has to say, especially after Lyons' insubordination led to the West cutting the DC bunker loose, denying them reinforcements and shutting off communications, and his obstinacy alienated the outcasts, making them leave in 2276. Regardless, the two remain on a first-name basis even among peers. In this situation, the conflict with the Enclave seemed like a death knell for the chapter. However, with the arrival of Madison Lee, Rothschild decided to continue his work in a last-ditch attempt at reactivating Liberty Prime. This turned out to be a wise decision, as Lee's experience with accelerated vector fusion allowed the Brotherhood scribes to jury-rig a powerful but compact fusion plant that managed to provide enough power for the robot's primary systems. With it, the Brotherhood was able to achieve victory over the Enclave's forces at the Purifier, countering their air superiority and smashing through fortifications surrounding the Purifier. With the energy management issues out of the way thanks to Dr. Lee's assistance, Liberty Prime became the trump card in the war against the Enclave. When the Enclave finally managed to destroy Liberty Prime by luring him to their satellite relay station in Rockland, Rothschild was heartbroken. The loss set the chapter back years and removed their only significant advantage over the Enclave, which remained a potent threat even with the loss of the Purifier and Raven Rock. As the Brotherhood recovered from this setback, Rothschild focused on finding new methods of countering their military superiority, intelligence, decryption, and improvising new weapons for use in the field. A member of the Order of the Shield, Valincourt is as beautiful as she is intelligent. She assists head scribe Rothschild in weapons research and assorted gadgetry as part of the Brotherhood's mission of preserving technology. In fact, she is what the Brotherhood considers a hardliner, a fervent believer in its original way. While she did not join the Brotherhood outcasts when the schism happened, she remained skeptical about Elder Lyons' new direction. After the activation of Project Purity and the breaking of the Enclave at the Jefferson Memorial, her attitude softens. The fact that the Brotherhood is prosecuting an intense war against a technologically superior foe certainly matters, as Valancourt gets the chance to examine Enclave technology and even reverse engineer it. After the Lone Wanderer recovers the Tesla coil, Valancourt leads the fabrication effort on the Tesla cannons meant to tip the scales in the Brotherhood's favor for the attack on Adams Air Force Base. The eventual destruction of the mobile base crawler only increases her workload. After she restored a captured vertibird to working condition in time for it to evacuate the Lone Wanderer from the base, she has begun to catalog and reverse engineer Enclave technology and assist Rothschild in his attempts to rebuild Liberty Prime, though deciphering her superior's schematics and wiring diagrams proves a challenge. Star Paladin Cross is the second highest ranking soldier, behind Sentinel Sarah Lyons, stationed in the Citadel. Although she is no longer active in the field, she serves as the bodyguard and advisor to Elder Owen Lyons. Although members are trained in all forms of combat as initiates, she prefers melee weapons in her service. It is well known among the Brotherhood that Cross is actually a cyborg, no longer needing to eat or sleep. Scribe Reginald Rothschild performed the operation that made her into a cyborg in order to save her life after she was gravely wounded while protecting Elder Lyons in the Wasteland. After the Brotherhood arrived in the Capital Wasteland, they began assisting with Project Purity. Cross in particular helped to guard the endeavor from when it was in its infancy in 2257. However, when one of the main scientists of the project, Catherine, died in childbirth, the progress ground to a halt. With the super mutant attacks increasing, James took his newborn and left for Vault 101, with her escorting the pair all the way to Megaton. By 2277, she bears the rank of Star Paladin, holds the title of Keeper of the Arm, and acts as Seneschal, steward, to Elder Lyons. She answers only to the Elder, who has given her leave to pursue Project Purity's restoration as she sees fit. Naturally, this means crushing the Enclave and fulfilling James's mission of restoring clean water to the Wastelanders. After the Enclave took over Project Purity, she continued her work to escort the child like their father before them. She knew James well. Although saddened to hear of James' passing, she took solace in his selfless sacrifice, dying doing what he knew to be right and protecting those that were dearest to him. She hoped that her death would have as much meaning. To her, how one dies is just as important as how one has lived. As a member of the Order, her reputation is very important to her. She is a man of her word and will swear to accompany and protect the Lone Wanderer in their travels. However, she is not their servant and will leave if the Lone Wanderer obtains a bad reputation, preferring to be alone than in bad company. She will also not travel with anyone not trusted by the Brotherhood. With the Broken Steel add-on, the Citadel can be targeted by the orbital missile platform controlled by the terminal in the Adams Air Force Base at the end of the quest Who Dares Wins. This destroys the Citadel, revealing some helpful supplies beneath the ruins.